Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. Chapter 12, the Bodhisattva of Complete Enlightenment. The Bodhisattva of Complete Enlightenment, who was in the assembly, rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, circled him thrice from the right, bowed down upon his knees, brought together his two palms with crossed fingers, and said, "O world-honored one of great compassion, you have fully expounded pure enlightenment by means of expedience, so that future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination can derive great profit. World-honored one, we are now awakened after hearing your teaching. But after the nirvana of the Buddha, how should living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination who are not yet awakened quietly dwell for their cultivation of this pure and clean state of complete enlightenment? Which of the three methods of pure contemplation is the foremost expedient? May the great compassionate one bestow great profit upon this assembly and future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination." After saying these words, he again made the same prostration and the same request for a second and third time. The world-honored one then said to the Bodhisattva of Complete Enlightenment, "Excellent! Excellent! Virtuous man, it is good that you are able to ask the Tathagata about such an expedient for the great benefit of living beings. Listen attentively to what I now tell you." The Bodhisattva of Complete Enlightenment was filled with joy upon hearing this. He and the assembly kept silent to hear the teaching. The Buddha said, "Virtuous man, whether during the time the Buddha appears in the world, or after his nirvana, or in the period of the Dharma's termination, living beings endowed with the Mahayana nature, who believe in the Buddha's great profound mind of complete enlightenment and wish to cultivate it, should, if they stay at a monastery, do so after providing accommodation for fellow practicers, and if they live outside, should practice meditative study according to prevailing circumstances, as I have already taught. If they are not prevented by hindering causes, they should establish themselves in a Bodhi mandala and fix time limits for their dwelling in purity, 120 days for a long period, 100 for a medium, and 80 for a short one. Whenever the Buddha appears in the world, they should hold the right thought of him, and after his nirvana, they should worship his image and concentrate their minds and faculty of seeing on it, in order always to hold the right thought, as if he was still on earth. Then they should make offerings of banners and flowers, and within the first 21 days make obeisance to the Buddhas in the 10 directions of space, calling their names and sincerely repent of and confess to their sins. They will see auspicious states, will experience a lightness of body and mind, and will feel at ease. After these 21 days, they should continue to control their thoughts. If the time coincides with the beginning of a summer retreat, the latter's 3 months of tranquil dwelling should be used for the Bodhisattva pure abiding, in which they should keep from Shravakas and avoid being served by followers of Hinayana. When the tranquil retreat begins, they should repeat before the Buddha, quote, "I am a bhikshu, or bhikshuni, or upasaka, or upasika, called so-and-so, a rider in the Bodhisattva vehicle, a practicer of still and passionless conduct for entry into pure and clean reality, wherein great complete enlightenment is my temple. My body and mind abide comfortably in samatha jnana, and the nirvanic self-nature is free from all attachments. I now respectfully ask that instead of relying on Shravakas, I be allowed to stay with all the Tathagatas in the 10 directions of space, and with great Bodhisattvas during the next 3 months, so that I can cultivate a Bodhisattva's unsurpassed, wonderful, profound enlightenment. Because of this great cause, I do not take my disciples along with me." Virtuous man, this is a Bodhisattva's tranquil retreat. At the end of the time limit set for his self-cultivation, he is free to go unhindered. Virtuous man, in the period of the Dharma's termination, future living beings who practice self-cultivation in quest of bodhisattvahood should, during their tranquil retreat, be heedless of all states, that is, visions, about which they have not heard from the Buddha. Virtuous man, in their practice of samatha, if they first concentrate on utmost stillness by stopping their thinking, the utter stillness will beget awareness, or bodhi. In this stillness, the awareness, first realized in a body, will spread to a whole universe. Virtuous man, if it pervades one whole universe, and if in this universe there is a living being who gives rise to a thought, they will all be aware of it. Likewise, when it spreads to 100 and 1,000 universes, the same condition will prevail. However, they should be heedless of all states about which they have not heard from the Buddha. Virtuous man, if living beings practice samapatti, they should first think of and remember the Tathagatas in the 10 directions of space and the Bodhisattvas in all universes, and rely on all Dharma doors to enlightenment, which they should pursue gradually. In their laborious toil to attain samadhi, they should take and carry out great vows, thus culminating in self-sublimation and crystallization of the holy seed. However, they should be heedless of all states about which they have not heard from the Buddha. Virtuous man, if living beings practice dhyana, they should first follow the method of counting by means of which their minds will know clearly the exact order of the creation, existence, and annihilation of each thought. They will thus preserve this clear knowledge of every thought while walking, standing, sitting, and lying, until, by advancing gradually further, they will discern clearly a drop of rain in 100 and 1,000 worlds, as if they see distinctly with their own eyes an object used by them. However, they should be heedless of all states about which they have not heard from the Buddha. These are the foremost expedients of the 3 meditative studies. If living beings practice all these 3 meditations energetically and diligently, they will be Tathagatas appearing in the world. In the period of the Dharma's termination, if living beings of dull roots fail in their quest of Tao, this is because of their karmic obstructions. They should earnestly repent of their errors and faults, and resolve to reform themselves, and always keep their hopes by first wiping out their love, hate, envy, jealousy, flattery, and crookedness, as well as the intentions of seeking superiority. Then they should practice either one of 3 meditations, and if they fail, they should try another one, and train with determination and fervent hope of gradual realization. To repeat his instruction, the world-honored one read the following gatha. Complete enlightenment, you should know that all living beings in search of the path supreme should choose one of 3 periods, repenting their timeless karmas. After the first 3 weeks, the right thought should they hold. States of which they have not heard should not be grasped. Samatha leads to stillness. Samapatti is right remembrance. Dhyana is achieved by counting. These 3 are pure contemplations. Those who practice them with diligence are Tathagatas on earth. Those of dull roots who in their practice fail should earnestly repent of faults committed since time without beginning. If all obstructions are removed, the Buddha stage appears.